That's the purpose. That's why you're here. Your whole express purpose is not just to come through the church doors once a week. And Jesus made it really clear when he described our lives as believers. He looked at believers and he actually compared them to something. Compared them to a couple of things, actually, but the first thing he compared them to that we're going to look at today is he compared them to salt. Salt. He said, guys, you're salt. Now, we can read this in actually Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. Here's the words of Jesus that he was speaking to the church. Here's what he said. He said, guys, you are the salt of the earth. I want you to know, if Jesus was here speaking to the Place Church in Wickenburg, Arizona, he would look at you and say, Place Church, you are the salt of the earth. No difference. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. Now, I love this comparison because it's something I can really grab a hold of because I understand salt. One thing you may not know about me is that I like to cook. I don't get to do it as much as I would like, but on a day off, I would enjoy going into a kitchen, making an incredible mess for my wife to clean up later, and cook. Oh, just kidding. We have a dishwasher. Just put it in there. But I do make a big mess in the kitchen because I used to work in restaurants. And in restaurants, you don't care, right? I mean, you just make a mess, and at the end of the night, you just come in with a hose, squirt it all down, and then you go home. So I do make a mess, but I go into the kitchen. I would spend hours in the kitchen. I love the kitchen. And the interesting thing about the kitchen and food is as you cook, you learn about spices and seasoning, and you learn about the importance of salt. If you listen to any professional chef, professional cook, they talk about the importance of salt. You guys got any favorite like chefs out there on TV or anything? Who's your favorite? Julia Childs. Okay, yeah, that was a while ago. I never saw Julia Childs. Got any other ones? Guy. What is it? Guy. Yeah, he's good. Who else? Oh, yeah, everyone's afraid to say that one guy who cusses all the time on TV. Gordon Ramsay, right? Everyone's afraid to say that. But there's another guy that I know. Now, his first name is Emerald, and his last name is... Oh, now this guy get crazy in the kitchen. Check this out. I love that guy, man. I mean, this guy understands the importance of salt, doesn't he? I mean, he just comes in and he's like, bam, right? He just brings in that salt. I think that that's important for us to think about in our lives. Because salt is important. I mean, listen, if we're compared to salt, we got to know that salt is important, and you are salt. Now, he looks at you maybe with the same way as Emerald looks at salt in his cooking. Except instead of a dish, he's looking at your world, right? Your place where you find yourself, wherever you are. I mean, imagine, try to wrap your mind. I'm sort of a visual guy. I see things sometimes. I imagine God in a chef coat, right? Imagine God up there cooking life, right? Cooking, and we're all out there. And he looks at you, and he looks at your world, where you're at. If for some of you, your workplace, right? And he's taking you to your workplace. And he looks out at the grumpy people in your workplace, people that don't know Jesus, gossiping, backbiting. You know who they are. You don't need to do that to them. You know who they are, all right? He looks into that mess of your workplace, and he sees you. And, he looks into that mess. You know what he says? Bam! That's what he says. He just throws you right in there. Think about that. Your family, you come in there. Bam! It just puts you right in there. Man, your salt, boom, boom, puts you right in there. Your difficult situation, your workplace, watch this. This church, bam! Salt coming on in there. See, that's how he sees you. And see, when you come in, when salt comes in, it affects things. It changes things. Salt adds flavor. Your life, being a Christian, being a believer, you add flavor to your world. In other words, your workplace tastes better because you're there. People notice you. People see that. Things are better because you're there. When you go to the family reunion representing Jesus, things become better because you're salt. Things taste better because of you. Not only that, but salt was actually used as a preservative. Think about that. In fact, in Bible times, in the time where Jesus is talking, salt was the main preservative used. Salt kept people eating in the years to come. I mean, salt allowed them to preserve food so that they could eat. And I want you to know, in your life, you're a preservative. You're a preservative for this world. I want you to imagine this right now. Imagine a world without Christians. Imagine how dark this world would be without people expressing the love, the grace, the joy. I think about it sometimes, it makes me shudder. It scares me. It is not a world I would ever want to be part of. A world that didn't have the love of Jesus in it. See, you preserve this world. As you walk around shining, flavoring, right, this world, you help to preserve it. Now, there's another use of salt that many of us Arizonians may not know. But if you're from a snowy climate, you do. Now, originally, I'm from Cleveland, even though I try to block those memories out of my mind. And I know a lot of you are from other snowy lands. You come, suck up the sunshine, it gets too hot, and you go home. All right? But we love you while you're here. And we got you for about another month, and we love you. And then it's going to reach triple digits, and you're out of here, and we sweat it out without you. But we'll hold down the fort. But I remember being back in Cleveland sometimes. You couldn't even go out on the roads until these big trucks came out, and they dropped something on the road. What'd they drop? Salt. You guys remember those bad nightmare memories, right? You remember salt. And the salt, it's really interesting because the salt, you could follow behind the salt truck because the salt cleared a path. And because the salt cleared a path, you were able to reach your destination safely. I want you to think about that in life. A real practical example. Because of your presence on this earth, you are like the salt truck for many people. That because of you going, other people are going to have a clear path to God. Because the way that you're living your life, because the example that you're making to others, you become a salt truck on this earth, leading other people to the Most High because you are salt. What do we do with resurrected bones where God has breathed his breath inside of us? We become salt, salt to this earth.